Hey everyone, this is Thekos. Christmas is slowly approaching and some of you might be planning to gift someone with a board or card game, which is a splendid idea if you ask me. Of course, that makes perfect sense. Board games are a great way to spend time together and just perfect for a Christmas present. But where to start? Well, there are so many websites and YouTube videos covering this topic already. But I was looking at my collection while thinking, well, I do have quite a few games I really like. Why not mention them in my own video? So I decided to film my own video. I'm pretty sure it will differ quite a bit from other videos. A few disclaimers before we get started. I will only talk about games in my collection. So if you're missing a game in my list, chances are that I don't own it or wouldn't suggest it for a Christmas present. Also, this video is not scripted. That way, I can speak more freely about why I like these games. Last but not least, I divided this video into 4 parts. Games that come in a small package which makes them perfect for stocking stuffers, family games that are a bit larger, party games that support higher player counts and have only little rules, and slightly more complex games at the end. Alright, let's get started. Let's start with small box games first. First off, we have the Oink games. 2 notable examples I have here of A Fake Artist Goes to New York and Scout. This could also fit in the family in the party games section because essentially everybody gets a different colored pen. You have a piece of paper in the middle. One person is the moderator, so to speak, and they think of a word and everybody gets a card with that word except for one person. That is the fake artist. And then everybody draws like one line on the sheet of paper. I think you do that for like 2 rounds or something like that. And then everybody has to guess who the fake artist is. It's really simple. You can actually play it without the game. You just need pens and the rules, right? But it's such a small, cute package that you can take pretty much anywhere. I highly suggest this one here. Really, really fun little deduction game for the artsy people. And Scout, I don't have to say too much about this. I think this was nominated for Spiel des Jahres. It lost against Cascadia, which I can understand. But this game is really good as well. It's a trick-taking game with a little twist and with a circus theme. Really cool mechanisms. I can also highly suggest that one. It's a really fun game. And while we're speaking about Oink games, Mr. Face is another one that I own that is pretty fun. It's pretty much Dixit, just instead of having like cards with images, you have to like put a face together, conveying an emotion. Pretty fun. It's not the best game ever, but it is pretty fun. It fits that collection. I also own 9 Tiles Panic, which I haven't played yet. So I can't say anything about that, but the Oink games are generally a pretty good idea because they're all quite small. Alright, so let me put those away and we can continue with the next one. And the next one is not a game either. It's not Wingspan, no. It is actually what's in here. This is like the box that I'm using for my Button Shy games. And I can't speak about all Button Shy games that I own because there's just too many. I do have a playlist with where I play like my most favorite Button Shy games. I do have a list with my 10 most favorite, or with 10 really good Button Shy games. So I suggest you watch those. But these are like the perfect games to gift other people because look at how small these are. These are probably the smallest games that you can probably gift anyone. And there are games that support up to 4 players, just as Tussie Mussie. Or also Skulls of Setlick if you own at least 1 expansion. And also there is In Vino Morte, which supports up to 8 players, I think. There are solo games, games for 2 people. There's pretty much everything in here. So the Button Shy games are very, very well worth looking at. Then we can continue with some other smaller games. So Tinderblox is a game I really like. I haven't shown it off on the channel yet, but it's a dexterity game where you have like these pincers. And you need to like stack these pieces of wood and fire cubes, so to speak. You just need to stack them. It's really simple. It is nothing special because it's just a dexterity game. But I like it because it has such a small format and it's really fun. When you like start stacking more and more stuff, it just becomes really hilarious. So my wife and I, we always have a great time playing this. We don't play it very often, but when it hits the table, it's always a blast. So really small, really, really great for a stocking stuffer as well. Next up, I have a few things that are not games. I have spoken about these. There is a video on my channel, maybe even 2, where I speak about those. The These are Rory story cubes. These are not games per se. These consist of just 9 dice that all have different faces. Oops. And you can just roll them and use them as story prompts. You can play with children. You can tell creative stories, for example. These are really great. I use them for my game master shenanigans when I play my role-playing games, especially the one that I've written myself, that I'm playing with a few players right now. But you can also just use them as creative writing prompts or just telling fun stories. And if you own several of these all have different themes. These are the regular ones, and then there are actions, fantasia, mystery, voyages, and even more. You can have a really good time with those. These are also really great for gifting people because they're just this small, really nice present. Let me get those out of the way because, well, there are a lot of games I want to get through, so let me just get right ahead. The next game I have shown off on my channel, that is Qwixx. Which is a very quick game. It's a roll and write in a very small box. It's really simple. You just have a few dice. You just roll these few dice, and then you cross off numbers here from left to right. And you're just trying to cross off as many numbers as possible before the game is over. That is pretty much all. It's really simple, but it's always a great game to play. A lot of people that I play this with can't just get enough of the game. They always want to play it. And if you're looking for this game, but you say it doesn't have to be that small, it can be a little bit larger. I don't know if it exists internationally, but there actually just was this limited edition. This one was just released. This has pretty much all versions of Qwixx in here, like the mixed one and whatever. And also the ones with the longer, where you have like the longer tracks, where you have like these D8s, really cool. And also these are wipeable, right? So you don't need to waste paper anymore. So really cool. So if you think somebody would like those, this version or this game, then this version would be the best one to get actually. It is quite pricey, but you can play it a lot, as I said. So and it's wipeable, so that is fine. Also, when you turn over the cover, you actually have a little dice tray, which is really cool. Like there's some felt in here, and you can actually roll these dice. You can't really see this one right now because of the lighting. I'm still working with these settings. Alright, so that was Qwixx. The small version and the large one. I can really suggest both of them. And now let's continue with a few more games. What also, another roll and write is Silver and Gold. Also a really cool game, because this one is really simple. I spoke about that in one of my family games videos, so to speak. I think the last one that was just released. In essence, you have like polyomino shapes that you turn over, like these cards, and then you try to fill out these little islands here in order to get points, coins, and these palm trees. It's really simple. That's pretty much all you do. Really simple. Supports 2 to 4 players. You can explain it really quickly. You can play it very quickly. It's quite small, a little bit larger than Qwixx when you take a look here, but not by a large margin. So also a game that I can highly suggest. Next game on my list is Enchanted Plumes. This is also family weight, just as pretty much all games that I just showed off. It's pretty simple to play as well, but it has a really nice puzzly factor. I haven't featured this game on the channel yet, but I will do a solo playthrough rather soon, more or less. I have so many things to record. I don't know when I will be able to record this, but I hope as soon as possible. So first of all, you can see how beautiful this game is. Really, really pretty. And this is really puzzly because you're trying to put like these feathers in these peacock feathers in like a row, and then you go like down, you like add rows to the bottom that are always one card shorter, right? That you have like this triangle shape kind of thing. Can you see it here? Yeah, you can see it here. Looks like that, right? But you can only use colors in the row that you have used in the row before, and so it becomes really puzzly. And also you're taking cards from the same stash in the middle, right? So really fun game, really puzzly, but still very approachable. A game that I can highly suggest. It doesn't look as good anymore, my version, because, well, I took it while traveling, and that was not a good idea. I need to find a way to travel safer with my games. The next game that I can really suggest is Oh My Goods. This is a pretty interesting resource management game in a very small box. It is a game by Alexander Pfister. He is pretty well known, and the illustrations are really nice. Essentially, you're just building buildings, you're getting resources with those buildings, and then you're pretty much trying to create like supply chains, right? You're trying to make corn, for example. Not corn, I mean wheat. You're trying to make wheat, for example, and with that wheat you can then make bread, and with the bread you can do other stuff, and that is really interesting. You can like create really interesting supply chains. This is a game that can become really thinky, but I think like this game has such a lot of depth in such a small box. And if you want to expand on that, there are expansions here that you can even play solo then. So definitely also something that I could recommend. And then just a few honorable mentions, so to speak. I like small card games that always work pretty much. L.L.A.M.A is a very simple game where you just put cards on, put numbers on numbers. You can always put the same number on it or one higher, and you're trying to finish your hand before everybody else. Otherwise, you will get negative points, but you can also like get rid of those negative points again if you can clear your hand first. That's pretty much it. Very simple, but always a game that people like to play with me. Also, I like Nimmt a lot. There is another an English name for that. Most people know it by that name, but I think Take 5, I think it's called. That's like the English version. Very easy game as well. You're just pretty much putting cards in that card rows in the middle, and you're trying not to put the 6th card in any row, otherwise you will have to take the other 5 as negative points. Very simple, not the greatest game ever, but it is a pretty good game that you can just give people and that people just like to play, right? Because it's that approachable and always works. Then also we have Abluxxen. You might know it as Linko. Also a very cute game where you're trying to trump other people with card rows, so to speak. So for example, if they put 2 7s there, then you can put 2 8s to actually trump them, and then you can steal cards from them. Really fun concept as well. A pretty good game. I like it a lot. Some people think it's a little bit too thinky for such a small game. Some people actually prefer L.L.A.M.A, but you can't really compare these two. They work completely different, so I can suggest all of these. And then the last of the small box games I have for today is Piraten Kapern. I have spoken about this game on the channel. It should be part of my family games lists as well. This is a really simple push your luck dice game. That's pretty much all, right? You're drawing mission cards. They can set the conditions for your turn. Everybody can have like different conditions. Then you roll just roll dice and try to get the same symbol as often as possible. But you can also get gems and coins, and you have to get rid of skulls. If you have 3 skulls, you actually lose everything and don't get anything. A really fun game. It's wildly unbalanced, but that's what makes it so fun. A really cool push your luck game. Very, very simple. Alright, let me now continue with slightly bigger family games. And we will start with a game that is also included on my family games list, Love Letter. Really simple game of elimination. I don't like games with elimination, but this plays so quick that it's actually fine. I haven't played it at a high player count yet. The highest I have played it with is 4, so I don't know how it plays at 5 to 8 if you have the big box, or the premium edition I think it's called in English. But it's a really cool game, especially if you have the premium edition or the big box, because you have these cool wooden hearts here, and you have like really large and thick cards. They are really thick, so really cool components as well. A game that I can highly suggest. It's a little bit of deduction, so you know which cards are in play. You can see which cards have been played. You don't have to memorize those because they all lie on the table, and you're trying to eliminate other players with your card effects. So you're trying to guess other players' cards, but you are able with other cards to actually look at their cards. You can trade cards, and really fun. Very quick to play, and I like this quite a lot. And if you like the Cthulhu mythos, then I also can suggest Lovecraft Letter, which is pretty much like a spin-off of that. And I like this one a little bit more because you have the madness mechanism. There are some cards that can make you mad, and then the game works a little bit differently, which is really cool. So I like this one a little bit more, but the love letter theme is liked more by more people, so this one is probably the safer one to get. Alright, we're off to the next game. And the next game is Port Royal. This is actually the bilingual version I have here. A really cool push your luck game where you are just drafting ships and crew members in order to afford more crew members that can actually help you, and you are trying to have the most victory points, or like you're trying to be the first one to have the required amount of victory points at the end. A pretty simple game, but it is a little bit thinky, and there are quite a few things you can actually look at. There also is a big box version of that. One thing that is really cool is that these cards here, they also double as currency, right? If you turn them over. So that is really, really clever. Really cool thing. I like that quite a lot. This is also a game I can suggest a lot. I don't know, this somehow doesn't hit the table too often, although it's really good. I don't know why. I need to get this mod to the table more often, seriously. The next game is something that might be a little bit hard to get. It's something that I have spoken about on the channel several times, and it's something that I really, really like. This is a card game, a very simple one with slight take that mechanism, but it's a really fun game with adorable artwork. I've spoken about this so many times, so I will not speak about it too much now, but it's a simple game, easy to explain. You can play it up to 8 players. Really great, and if you have 2 sets of this game, you can actually play it up to 12 players, which is really great. So a game that I really like, that I always like to pull out by some of my favorite designers here. Also something that I can highly suggest. Alright, so let's take a look at the next one. And that game I've spoken about on my channel as well, and that is Pairs. This is the deluxe edition. It's a really, really simple family game as well, where you just have cards in front of you, and you always just either take a card or you don't. If you take a card that you already have, like a value you already have, then you take that card as negative points, and that's pretty much all you do. Either you pass and take a card with a small number, or you just risk it and try not to bust. So really cool. I could have also mentioned that in my stocking stuffer part of this video, because there also are small versions of this game that you can just put in the stocking of someone. So that might be a really, really cool present as well. Like the small one, this is the Cthulhu version, which is really cute as well. The next game is very well known as well, and that is Point Salad. A really, really good game as well. The game that is really popular with pretty much everyone I play this with. This is just a game where you just draft vegetables from the middle of the table, and also you draft scoring conditions, right? And you draft both vegetables and scoring conditions. You try to match them somehow that you will score the most points at the end. Really simple, but a really great game that plays up to 6 players, which is pretty good as well. This is something that can find a place in everyone's collection, in my opinion. And the next game is a little bit strange. It's something that is completely different. This is called Farben. This is the German word for colors, but this, I think it's also called that internationally. This is a pretty strange game because it is a game and you can also win. This is pretty much like everybody has like the same colors in their hand, like one of each, and then you just turn over specific words here. For example, holiday, right here. And then people need to assign a color to that and explain why they chose that color, right? So for holiday, you could take blue, for example, because you like to go to the sea the most when you're on holiday. Or you could call it, I don't know, you call it green because you usually go to a forest or I don't know what. And then at the end, like you go around, like everybody has to play almost every color. And then at the end, people need to try to remember like the colors of each person for each word, trying to think of their stories. Right? The stories could help remembering that. Really cool game. It is strange. It is very strange, but I like it quite a lot. The next game I have is something that I really like a lot. This is Qbirds. A really cute game with birds. I mean, you know, I like nature-themed games and also bird-themed games. Okay, I need to sort this a little bit. Oh, it's actually not too bad. So actually, essentially, this is a drafting game. You're just drafting cards, but there are like a few mechanisms that you don't have in other games. That you always like put a card on the right, on the left of a row, and if you're able to encircle birds, then you take those into your hands, and you're trying to get like a specific number of the same bird in your hand, so you can actually put them in your flock. And you're trying to collect a specific amount of flocks in order to win. So a really cool game, quite simple. There are a lot of cards you have in your hand that are lying on the table, so it's a lot of cards, but apart from that, it's a really cool game. I really enjoy this one. I can highly recommend that as well. But like with a lot of games on this list, this is also available on Board Game Arena if you want to try it digitally first, if you like it enough. But also a very game to gift to someone because it's just very cute and has pretty good gameplay. I enjoyed it a lot. The next game on my list is quite new to me. I just got this at Spiel this year, and this is a Push Your Luck game again. But the difference to other Push Your Luck games is that this is a little bit more complicated because you have different things you need to pay attention to. You have cards on the one hand, but you also have... I can't find them. But you also have these cards as well. These deduct from the number cards, but they have their own threshold that you must not cross, right? And then you also can get these chips here in order to buy new cards. And you're trying to take cards into your row and form sequences in different colors, right? So really interesting concept, and this surprisingly works really well because you have some kind of set collection thing going there with the sequences you're trying to get. You have a little bit of resource management. Mainly you have Push Your Luck. There's a lot in this small box, and this is definitely one of the more complex Push Your Luck games, but it's still family weight, right? I'm just saying that most Push Your Luck games are way less complex, way simpler, but it's a good thing. 10 is a really good Push Your Luck game. I really like this one. But then again, I like a lot of games published by AEG. Okay, the next one we have is Fantasy Realms. Like with some games in my collection, this is the German version, but don't let that fool you. This is a pretty cool hand management game where you have like a specific number of cards in your hand, and you are just drawing cards and putting more down again. And then you always get a new card, and you have to put one on the table again. You draw a new one, you put one on the table, and you do that until a specific number of cards is lying on the table. And this works really well. There are a lot of effects, like this card gets this amount of points, but also more points if it is with another card or with another card type. But this card type blocks that card. There are a lot of ways how these cards affect each other and gain or deduct points, which is really fun. I like this a lot. Not everybody loves this game somehow, but I can really recommend this one. Still, I would say on the threshold of family game. I think it's not that complicated. Okay, so we still have lots more to go through. I hope you still have some stamina. This is ganz schön clever, or in English, that's pretty clever. I think there are 4 iterations of that, and all of them are supposed to be good. I've only played the first one. This is like a really satisfying combo game, so to speak. It's a roll and write, but one thing that it does really well is if you cross certain thresholds here, certain points, or if you have columns or rows completed, then you gain another power, and that power lets you cross off something else, and that might let you cross off something else, and that is really satisfying. So really cool game, perfect game to gift someone. It's quick to explain, it's pretty easy to play, not the easiest on my list, but still quite simple family game, and you can play that pretty much infinitely. Really good game as well. Okay, and then we have my most favorite roll and write, or in that case it's a flip and write. It's Cartographers. There is a live video on my channel where I played with my community. You can also watch that video and play along with me. You'll find everything you need in the description of that video. This is pretty much a flip and write or roll and write game where you draw little maps. Let me get one out. Here we go. That was actually the one that I did on stream with the viewers, and you just flip over cards here that give you different shapes here. Let me just show you one. for example here, right? They give you different shapes and colors, and then you just fill in your map pretty much and try to complete specific objectives that are randomized each game. A really, really amazing roll and write, or as I said in this case, a flip and write. I can highly suggest this one. It's definitely my most favorite one, and it's a lot of fun to play if you like actually use colored pencils or colored pens. You don't need to do that, but it's much more fun if you do it, right? This is one of the best roll or flip and writes ever. Seriously. Okay, so let's continue with the next game. And that is Welcome to Your Perfect Home. This is a game that I've also played on the channel at the very beginning of my channel, so it is quite an old video. I will definitely do a remake of that at some point, maybe even a live playthrough, let's see. And this is a roll and write again, or flip and write again in this instance, and essentially you're flipping over like these number cards here, and then you number the houses, right? Like these street numbers. You have to do it from left to right in ascending order, but you can also fill in like these little swimming pools and fences and these gardens here, and then I also have other stuff you can cross off down here. It's a really interesting theme. It's a really fluid game. It's really simple to play, very, very fluid to play, and a lot of fun. So there also are quite a few expansions for that with the different themes. I think there's some zombie theme, I think, and something for Christmas and some ice cream stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff here. Also a very cool game. I do enjoy Cartographers more, but this is also a very good flip and write. Okay. The next game is, now we're getting more into the games, so to speak, right? This is only for 2 players, but it's my most favorite 2-player game ever. This is Patchwork by Uwe Rosenberg. You probably know that. What you're essentially doing is you're trying to, you have like this blanket here, and you're trying to put these patches on your blanket, trying to puzzle them together so that you try to fill as much of the blanket as possible. And you do that dueling with the opponent, and you both try to fill as much as possible until the very end and collecting these cute little buttons. I'm thinking about upgrading this actually and buying really cool buttons and putting them in here instead of these. I think it's even more fun to play then. But this is a really great 2-player game. I can highly suggest that one as well. This is actually one of the first games that I mention when people ask me which games can I gift people as a present. Patchwork is usually one of my first responses. Really, really amazing game. The next game on my list is Draftosaurus. There is an older review on my channel for this. A really cute game that has also made it on one of my family games list, where you have like these really cool dinosaur meeples in different colors and shapes. Really, really well made. Very, very cute. And you're trying to put them like in your park, and each of these parts of your park have different scoring conditions, so to speak. They have different conditions. Here you can only put the same species, here only different ones, and so on. And you're just trying to fill your park with as many dinosaurs as possible before your opponents, so you can win the game. Really cool, really quick to play. If you know how to play it, 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes tops. A really, really quick game. I can highly suggest that, up to 5 players. There are expansions with that. I would stay clear of the expansions for now. I have 2 of them. I think there are only 2. One of them is pretty good actually, and the other one is not that great. So the base game is definitely enough. There are 2 sides to the board, one summer, one winter side. They work differently, so that is more than enough. A really fun game that you can also try out digitally on Board Game Arena first. Okay, we are slowly inching towards the end. About this game, I will not say too much because I have said so much on my channel about this. This game, I don't know how often I mentioned it, but it's like, I think it features in 4 or 5 videos. And now another one. Cascadia, it won Spiel des Jahres this year, and rightfully so. One of the greatest games ever. I have just played it last week again. Such an amazing game. It's a tile drafting and laying game where you try to fulfill specific scoring conditions, but you don't have to play with these scoring conditions. You can also play the family mode, which is a lot more simple. You can really play this with almost anyone. It's one of the most elegant games I've ever played because there are almost no rules. I can explain this in like 3, 4, 5 minutes, but still it's tactically quite deep because you're really trying to puzzle together your stuff. Great. Such a wonderful game with a wonderful theme, and with wonderful art by Beth Sobel. This, if you can only get one game from this entire list, it's that one. Definitely. Definitely not a stocking stuffer, but one of the greatest games that I'm talking about today. Seriously. Okay, and the last game in my slightly bigger family games list is Azul. Well, it's not slightly bigger, it's actually a full-size game, but I need to mention it here because this is a modern classic. This is something that also won Spiel des Jahres, and rightfully so. This is a really great puzzler. It is best played at a two-player count, but you can play it up to 4 players, and that is totally viable. You can play it at all player counts, but 2 is like the best number. You have like your board here, and on this board you're trying to puzzle together these tiles that you draft from the middle. This game can become quite competitive, but that's what makes it pretty fun. And you have like these really nice tiles that you're actually working with. So yeah, I can highly suggest this game as well. Great production quality, a really nice puzzler, but it is definitely probably the most thinky game on this list so far, at least in the family weight genre, so to speak. Alright, and next let's take a look at a few party games. I think I have spoken about most games on my channel already, but let me just quickly say something about them again. This is very new. This was nominated for Spiel des Jahres as well this year, and luckily Cascadia got it, but this is a really cool family game as well. Essentially, you have like these cards in here that tell you something. For example, let me just find an example. It's now in German, but for example, here you are captain of the Titanic, and you're telling the passengers that they need to get to a rescue boat right now. And you're saying that either really cool or they're totally full of panic. So that is like these little situations you have here, and then every player is drawing like blindly one of these cards, and they are labeled from 1 to 10. There's one of each, and then each player has to say something. They have to like give an answer to whatever is written here, and trying to say it like according to the number they have. Like 10 is a lot, and 1 is just a little bit. And that is what they're trying to do. And the captain, like the leader of the round, like the first player, so to speak, they need to put them all in order, just judging by what the players said. This is just hilarious. Such a hilarious game. I don't know if it's available in English yet, but even if it's not yet, just give it a little bit and wait until it is published in English, because this is really worth it. This is a hilarious party game. Next up is one of the few party games that I would say are better than top 10, and that is Just One. Another game that actually won Spiel des Jahres, another game that I'm not sure if it's available in English. I think it is. Even if it's not, it will be at some point, I'm pretty sure. Then wait for that and get this one. This is one of the best party games in my opinion. It's really simple. You have these words. One person cannot see the word that they need to guess. For example, snake. That is the German word for snake. And then each player has one of these little things here, and every player puts one word here that references that word. Snake, for example, like green or long or I don't know, animal, jungle, whatever. But the twist is that all players are then looking at each other's words, and all words that have been noted down more than once need to be erased, removed. So the player that has to guess the word with less words than they actually would have to if none of the words were doubled or tripled or whatever, right? Really fun game. I can highly suggest this one as well. The next party game is pretty popular and well known. It is Codenames. This is the duet version, the 2-player cooperative version, but I actually have both versions in here, so I can play this competitively and also together with whoever cooperatively. A game where you're pretty much trying to make connections between words that are lying on the table, and your team has to guess the correct words. Like each team has a specific set of words they need to guess, but only the code giver, so to speak, knows these words, and the team has to guess that with the clue that is given to them. Really cool game. It can become really thinky. It can have quite some downtime if one team needs very long to actually think of a word, but it's still worth it. It's a really, really great party game. And it suggests a lot of people. I think, yeah, unlimited. It says here 2 and more. I wouldn't play it with 2, to be honest. I would start at 4. It's okay with 3, I think, but I would start at 4 players at least, and then you can go up to pretty much unlimited players, right? Okay, and the last party games, so to speak, are the Similo games. I featured them in my last family games video as well. These are pretty cool because you have 12 cards that are lying in the middle, and the leading player, like the clue giver, so to speak, they also have a set of cards in their hand, and then they need to play cards indicating whether that card is similar or dissimilar to the card that the other players need to guess of these 12 cards, right? And then the other players need to turn over 1 card, and then later on 2 cards and 3 cards, as they think it's not the card that they need to guess. So really, really cool concept, and you have like a lot of these different themes. Really fun game that I can highly suggest. Also unlimited player count, because there's only 1 player as the clue giver, and all other players are cooperatively trying to guess the correct card. So really fun game as well. And now, last but not least, let's take a look at games I would rate slightly more complex than family level. This list now is a little bit more complicated because I could have named so many games for this, because now I'm looking at more complex and also more expensive games. But there are just a few that I just want to mention because they're either that great or they're not as well known as I would hope. So we will start with Parks. I've spoken about this game several times. There's not too much I have to say about this game anymore, but this is beautiful. It has amazing components. It has amazing organization, as you can see. Great component quality, a great theme, but it's also really fun. Essentially, you're walking with your hike. You have 2 hikers, and you're walking on a trail from left to right. The fun idea here is that you can't go back, and you're trying to collect resources that you need in order to visit parks. Really great game, but this is more pricey. So I think about $50. It's quite a lot for this small game, but it's one of the greatest games in my collection as well. It always makes my top lists because it's that great. A really great present for people who like nature and like nature-themed board games. A great present if they don't have it yet, because this is also something that can fit into any collection, in my opinion. Next up, we have something that is very well known. It's The Crew. I don't have to say much about that either. It is a cooperative trick-taking game, and that is what the game excels at. This is the second one, Mission Deep Sea, I think it's called in English. This is the second iteration that is even better than the first one that already got an award for that. So, yeah, you're pretty much trying to... Everybody has like missions in front of them, and you're trying to complete these missions cooperatively without like speaking too much. And you can even play it with 2 players. There's a 2-player variant in here that is supposed to be very good. I can't say because I haven't tried it yet, but it's supposed to be really good as well. It plays up to 5 players and also pretty quick. Definitely a very good game to gift to someone, but a little bit more complex, like all games in this list right here. Then we have, this is called Walking in Burano. This is the German version because I could get it easier. This is a really cute game that is actually about the real place Burano in Italy, where you have like these colored houses, and that is exactly what you're trying to do. You are trying to, let me see if I can find a few buildings here. You're trying to put together these really cute houses here, as you can see. For example, here you can put like together these houses like this, right? And this is really cute, really well done. And this is a really thinky puzzler. It doesn't look like it at first, but this is something that, I don't know, it is kind of a family game, but it is quite thinky and puzzly. I don't think you could play it with anyone, which is why it's in this list. But it's a really pretty game. It has a great theme. This Italian Burano theme, really great, and it's a really good puzzle. It is really, really fun. I think there is even a sequel to that now. I will definitely also want to try that out. But I think this is a great game to give to someone as well, if they like these thinky and puzzly games. Alright, the last 2 games on my list. First of all, we have Wild Space, a game that I will feature on my channel, hopefully quite soon. We'll show you a solo playthrough. This is a really cool how would you call it? It's kind of a set collection game. We're trying to collect these crew members here for your space mission. But these, like, the main gist of the game is that they all have like abilities, and when you put down a card, it's possible that that card lets you put down another card if you have a specific other card, right? And then you put it down a card, then you can draw one. Because you drew one, you can put down another card. You can really go wild with combos toward the end, and that is really fun. It has a really good solo mode. It plays up to 5 players. It plays quite quickly, in like 30 to 45 minutes. At least with up to 3 players, I'd say. I don't know about 4 and 5. I haven't played that yet. Maybe it's a little bit longer, but it's a really cool game. It is probably like Parks level. It's just slightly above family level. But what makes this a little bit more complex is like this combo potential, right? It can become pretty thinky toward the end. But it's an amazing game. I absolutely love this game as well. Okay, and last but not least, well, yeah, Wingspan. I just have to mention Wingspan, because as everybody who knows me knows that I love this game. It's been my number 1 for years, and if you can spend the money for Parks, then you can also spend the money for Wingspan, because their price almost the same. It's possible that Wingspan is a little bit cheaper even, I'm not quite sure, but you're paying around the same price as Parks, and you get a lot more game in here, right? There's not a whole lot I can say without going overboard. Let me just try to summarize briefly. This is an engine builder where you have a player board here, and with food you can get from the bird feeder, you're trying to attract birds into your habitats. And these birds give you points, and these birds also have effects. So if you trigger one of these rows that give you food, eggs, or let you draw cards, then you also activate all birds with a brown ability in the respective row. This can become really cool toward the end when you have like more and more birds in there and more combinations, and then you can like really get your engine going. A really great game. It is my absolutely favorite game. And if you have a gamer in your family who does not own Wingspan yet, and you're willing to give them something a little bit bigger than Wingspan, it is 100%. Seriously. Well, you made it to the end of my video. I hope you found it entertaining. Maybe you even found your next Christmas present. And before I end this video, I want to thank all of you for your support, and especially my patrons who are generously supporting me on Patreon. Also a big shout out to Thakronor, who's currently my biggest supporter, and I really thank you so much for that. And if you also want to support me, why don't you head over to my Patreon? You will find the link in this video's description, but you don't have to. I'm just happy for you to watch my videos anyway. If you like this video, why don't you let me know by liking and commenting? And if you enjoy my content enough and want to keep up to date with my future content, why don't you consider a subscription? That would really be amazing. You can also hang out with me and my community on my Discord server, and we'd love to see you over there. Alright, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I highly appreciate it. I will see you in the very next video. Take care everyone, stay safe, and cheers.